if it's a good film, you can make more money than what Netflix is gonna offer you in that particular amount of time, and you might even be able to do it faster.
Where would you be right now without Tubi?
I'm sure I'll be moving forward with another streaming service. You know, it just so happens that right now Tubi's working for a lot of independents. And it created a situation where you don't have to go to a lot of the bigger networks, like the BETs and things like that. Like you don't, like if you're on Tubi and your movie is, you know, you've built the audience and your movie is strong enough, the storyline is strong enough to where people want to watch it, you could actually make more money on Tubi TV than going and getting a license deal or selling a movie to BET over time, you know? So I think that for me, you know, I think that Tubi is just something that it was timing, because before Tubi it was Amazon. So I just think that it's one of those scenarios where I got into the movie industry at the right time, and my first film was done at the right time. And so I believe that if I wasn't doing Tubi, it'd be something else, because that's just what I do.
How many movies do you have on Tubi currently?
Currently we have 7 projects on there. So there's Circumstances 1, 2, 3, and 4, Untangled, A Good Day for Everybody, and The Rise and Fall of Cuckoo Cow. It's a documentary. And we have a project in post-production right now, All About a Check. That'll be out this summer. And we got a bunch of projects slated for production this year and next year. So,
oh, more to come, okay.
Yeah.
How did you get your first movie on Tubi?
First movie, I got it on there through a distributor. So, you know, in order for you to have a film on Tubi, you have to have some form of distribution, because you can't just submit a movie to them. You have to have either an aggregator or a distributor to get to them.
And this was what year?
That was in 2000. My first movie went on there, I want to say, was it 2018? Something like that.
Have you gotten all of your movies on Tubi the same way?
Yes, you have to go to a distributor, all of them.
All of them, okay.
And I have relationships with a few different distributors. So, you know, and sometimes that's good to be able to figure out what's the best situation for you, right? It's no different than a music artist who goes through different labels or distributors. You have to find the best situation for you, because what might be the best situation for the distributor might not be the best situation for you.
And how would a filmmaker know that? That's a good point.
Well, I think you would know that, number one, first of all, by knowing that they're paying you your money.
I think that would be good. Yeah, okay. That's the number one. Sure.
Number one. And also, you would know that by gauging how supportive they are of you, what type of assets they're providing you with to help you continue to move forward. So, what are they, you know, what are they just collecting a check, or are they actually there as a partner, as a voice, and helping you to say, okay, well, maybe you should try this? And are they helping you with different concepts with marketing? Are they putting up marketing dollars? Are they invested in the project with you ultimately, not just saying, okay, here, give us a movie and, you know, good luck. Hopefully it makes some money, right? So I think for me, right now, I mean, in every situation it's different. You know, if you're trying to get your first movie out there, I think that the biggest thing is to just get with a distributor that has some integrity, somebody that's gonna pay you, right? That's number one. So, but as you continue to grow and develop in anything, then that means you are going to need more from your partners, right? Because you're not going to stay at the same level as when you first began. So I think that as a producer, you know, when you get to your second, third, fourth, and whatever movie, then you're going to start to learn that on your own. It's going to be certain things that's going to start to click with you. Because if you've made 4 or 5 movies or whatever, that means that you are consistent, and obviously you are serious about what you're doing. So you're not just making movies, that means there's going to be other things that you're learning throughout that process, because you don't just make all of these movies and you're not retaining no information. So I just think that, you know, ultimately, to answer that question, I think that it's on the filmmaker to receive the ride as it is and enjoy the ride, and be intentional about learning throughout the process of what you need and what you don't need.
And why not Netflix?
Well, Netflix is obviously a tougher platform to get on, but Netflix, contrary to what a lot of people believe, you know, when it comes to independent films, Netflix is not really friendly like that with independents. You know, and when I say that, I mean that, you know, with the licensing deals and whatnot that they give out. And I'm not trying to badmouth Netflix. I'm just saying that in terms of AVOD, which is advertisement video on demand, which is places like Tubi, Pluto, YouTube, things like that. And then you have SVOD, which is subscription video on demand, which is your Hulus, your Netflixes, and different places like that. Netflix is SVOD, and Netflix, what they're gonna do is they're going to license your movie out from you, and they're gonna give you a certain amount of money, and more than likely they're gonna want it to be an exclusive deal, meaning that if you give a new film to Netflix, you're a fairly new producer, or you don't have that many titles, you ain't hit the ball out the park yet, whatever that might be, then they're gonna offer you a certain amount of money, whatever that might be, and it's not gonna be this high amount that people think. So that's why you see a lot of producers choosing to go to a lot of other streaming services outside of Netflix. I mean, it's just simply because when you do the licensing deal with them, they're gonna want to control that piece of content for a certain amount of time. So that means you can't put it anywhere else. And a lot of filmmakers are finding out that, especially independents, that you'll be better off just putting it on Tubi and, you know, and cash flowing that way. Because over time, you're gonna make, if it's a good film, you can make more money than what Netflix is gonna offer you in that particular amount of time, and you might even be able to do it faster.
Okay, let's say though Netflix, if you're lucky enough to have prominent placement, if people are choosing your film, do you think that's worth it, even if it's like a year contract and then more eyeballs are on it, and then once the contract expires, you know, so more people you're building more awareness with Netflix? Definitely.
I mean, listen, it's all about what goals you have, right? So that could definitely be a situation where you could give Netflix the film and they could boost the sales up, and they could be strong for you. They could boost up the awareness of the film, which then, once you get the film back, once people know what it is, they might go click on it, right? But to me, that's a gamble. Because here's the thing, right? How bad do you believe in yourself? So, do you have the type of infrastructure and the fan base that could sustain the same profitability for that project in that year? Because let's just say you spent $150,000 on this movie or whatever, and Netflix want to license it out for $225. Okay, so you make $75,000, right? And then you get the brand awareness, and you can now tell people I have a movie on Netflix. That's cool, but you just would have to look at that as a producer and just ask yourself, what is your overall goals? Because that is an option, right? But you might tell yourself, you know what? I'll take this situation right here just to get in there and figure out if you can just build the relationships with them, right? And then it might be one of your films where this might not be one of your biggest pieces of work, or you might not give them the biggest title that you have in terms of, you just might give them something that, okay, this is an okay film, it's a good film, but it's not your best work, right? So I guess ultimately that's just going to depend on what do you think is most important for you at that time as a producer. Are you trying to build relationships? Because if you want to build a relationship with Netflix, that's a good way to get yourself in, right? And if you have multiple titles and, depending on what you spent on the movie, if you can turn a profit in that first year, it might be worth it. So I would just say that, just to weigh out all your options.
It's great advice. Does Tubi take every movie?
No. Tubi, they take a lot of movies, of course, but I think they got over 50-some thousand titles now. But they're starting to be more selective about the quality. And one big deal breaker is the audio. It's the audio, and that's like one of the main things that I've seen recently, that I've heard from some distributors and filmmakers is, the audio not passing quality control. So, at this point, Tubi is, they've become a household name. So of course, initially they was taking everything, right? But now they've built up the catalog to where they can be more selective as to what they take in. And I would say that, they're probably gonna get more strenuous in terms of what they're picking, the titles that they're picking as they continue to grow, which is understandable.
Sure. So do you always think about that? Like lav mics, ADR, different things. Like, is that something that you're super critical of? Is the audio for your films?
Yeah, audio is audio can make or break a movie. Audio can be the difference between you getting distribution and you're not getting distribution. So that's because creatively, when you're talking about the picture, right? So the actual story, it's your story to tell however you want to tell it, right? Long as you don't have any content in there that's like against the streaming service, against their overall rules of what they put on their streaming service. They pretty much give you free reign as to the creativity, right? But think about it. The audio is more of a thing where it's like, okay, if the listener can't hear it, then it's a bad product.